What is going on, comic book gang? My name is Jancy, aka Year of the Collector, and I am back again with another installment of thoughts and reviews. This time around, we're gonna go into the Ultimate Universe. That's right, Earth 6160, the new Ultimate Universe. I cover the Ultimate Universe from its inception in this channel. I have a playlist somewhere in the channel for the Ultimate Invasion series and then the Ultimate Universe one shot. And I have made videos from the Ultimate titles here and there, but I haven't touched it in a while. So today we're gonna go over the Ultimate Universe 1 year in one shot. That is basically the midpoint of what this whole project is supposed to be, right? Recently in San Diego Comic-Con, they just announced the climax of all stories, which are leading to the 24-month conclusion, the return of the Maker. So, like I said, Ultimate Invasion. Back in June 2023, Marvel Comics released the Ultimate Invasion miniseries by Jonathan Hickman and Bryan Hitch. Fans were over the moon with the announcement of the return of the Ultimate Universe. However, this series did not bring back the famous Earth 1610 that gave birth to the likes of Miles Morales or the Maker. In fact, this ended being an entire new thing, which is why you hear people call it the new Ultimate Universe. So enter Reed Richards of Earth 1610, also known as the Maker. The once former Mr. Fantastic was held captive by the Illuminati. The secret group hoped to rehabilitate the villain that once tried to destroy them. Quick parenthesis here, but can somebody give me in the comments the scoreboard for the Avengers Illuminati right now? Like, how many times have they made a decision that has come back to bite them in the ass? You know, Planet Hulk, the Skrull invasion, keeping the Maker alive. To me, that's 0-3 right there. But I know there's more. So if you know how many other times they made a decision with good intentions that did not pan out, because they gotta disband this group at this point. I'm sorry. Unfortunately, the Maker broke out of his captivity. Furthermore, he escaped to an alternate universe where the heroes could not follow. Once he established himself in this new universe, the Maker took it upon himself to rewrite the history of this new world with the help of the Immortus engine. Long story short, it's a time travel machine, okay? Don't think about it too much. Ultimately, the Maker molded the new world to his liking, one without heroes that he could rule over. Now, as thorough as the Maker could be, he needed help to sustain this world. So for that, he created the Maker's Council. At the beginning, we used to call it the Maker's Illuminati because it was kind of like similar to it, but no, it's officially called the Maker's Council. The group members and their respective territories were Khonshu and Ra, rulers of the upper and lower kingdoms, essentially the African continent. Sunfire, the emperor of Hinokuni, alongside his delegates, Viper and Silver Samurai, which is the equivalent of Japan, Southeast Asia. The Rasputins, Colossus, Magic, and Omega Red, they oversee the Eurasian Republic, basically Russia. Henry Dugari, aka Captain Britain, who's in charge of the European coalition. You also have the Black King, Emmanuel da Costa, leader of the Society of South America. And finally, the Hulk, Bruce Banner, who serves as the leader of a cult named the Children of the Light, and he's also the ruler of the hidden city of Kunlun. These are Earth 6160's version of these characters that we already know. With this group of subordinates, the Maker could focus on other important matters, such as stopping rebellions coming from unpredictable angles, like, for example, rebellions from the future. One of the big plot twists from the Ultimate Invasion story was the Iron Man versus the Maker conflict. Long story short, the Maker pulled the curtain and laid out the truth of the world for Howard Stark, the Iron Man of this universe. Obadiah Stane, aka the War Machine, was the Maker's delegate for the North American Union, what was formerly known as the United States. Now that Obadiah was dead, the Maker was hoping the Iron Man would join the Maker's Council. Instead, Howard Stark secretly rejected everything the Maker had to offer. For this reason, Iron Man conspired with this world's Doctor Doom to take down the Maker. Basically, the Maker's only weakness was attacks from the future, so to counter this problem, he lifted time shields to stop any further attacks from the future. However, Doom and Iron Man's rebellion brought an epic clash of giants. Once they dismantled the temporal shields, Kang the Conqueror arrived from the future with a legion of heroes to take on the Maker and his council. Unfortunately, Iron Man's mission was to keep everyone busy while Doom managed to escape after locking the city behind. As much as they paid the price to execute this plan, it was only a temporary fix. The city's shields were set to come down eventually. The Maker's Council estimated this would take about 24 months, more or less. Currently, in the Ultimate Universe, we are 19 months in at the time of this recording. At 12 months, Marvel published the 1 year later issue. The cool thing about the countdown is that every title from the Ultimate line comes out monthly, and that's in real time how we are leading up to the Maker's return. Same as in their universe, 24 months is what's gonna take to have the Maker back. It's gonna take us 24 months to see him return in comics. So that's pretty cool. Since the events of the Ultimate Invasion, since the events that took place during Ultimate Invasion, Earth 6160 has been busy all over. First, Doom teamed up with Iron Lad to undo the changes done by the Maker. For this, they used their own Immortals engine to time travel. Using a page from the Maker's own playbook, they returned to key moments in time to address key people, specifically the ones robbed of their superhero lives. For example, Steve Rogers, Thor, Lady Sif, Hank Pym, Janet Van Dyne, Hawkeye, She-Hulk, America Chavez, Human Torch, Luke Cage, and Peter Parker, among others. By gathering strength in numbers, they have assembled the Ultimates. That's essentially the overarching plot for the Ultimate series. So enter Ultimate Spider-Man. Speaking of Peter Parker, Iron Lad reached out to Peter and explained he was Spider-Man, or at least he was supposed to be, but because of the Maker's interference, it didn't happen. Iron Lad gave Peter and many others the opportunity to change that. Of course, Mr. Parker decided to take Tony Stark's offer and let the radioactive spider bite him. Along with this, there are other major developments. For instance, Stark Industries was absorbed by Oscorp, paving the way for Harry Osborn to become the Green Goblin. Now, in the other side of the world, what we know as Japan, we have the Ultimate X-Men going on. Urban legends have sprung to life and brought up some unusual new powers with them. Ultimate X-Men is by Peach Momoko, and it follows the story of Hisako Ishiki, aka Armor, in the Land of Fire, or Hinokuni. Mutant kind have been living in secrecy until now that Hisako and company uncover the Children of the Atom, a secret cult of mutants. As any other cult, this religion has its own charismatic leader in Maester. Unbeknownst to most members of the religion, Maester works directly for Viper, one of the Maker's Council members. Besides teachings and sermons about mutanthood, there's also evil brewing behind the curtains. From Hinokuni, we go to Wakanda. In the wake of the Ultimate Invasion, Khonshu and Ra decided to make their move to take over the entire continent of Africa. The force, known together as Moon Knight, sought to expand their control inside the isolated kingdom of Wakanda, while the sovereign nation deliberated if they should protect people outside of their borders. Champions of the people like Killmonger and Aurora stood up against the Moon Knight forces. As part of their attempts to destabilize Wakanda, Ra and Khonshu sent spies to sow chaos inside the nation. In response, the king of Wakanda decided to send forth his army to combat the invading forces. T'Challa the King and Black Panther took on the challenge of protecting all African people from the Moon Knight. Beyond the war between the Black Panther and the Moon Knight, there was also the discovery of a new element called anti-vibranium, which predates the history of the world alongside vibranium. So with everything I just gone over, we're technically halfway there. That's where we got to the 12-month halfway point. 12 months of exploration, exposition, and world development. Earth 6160 is due for an assessment. 1 year down, one more to go until the Maker is free again. The 1 year one shot has been out for several months now, so I thought it was a perfect time to talk about it. So with all that being said, let's get into it. The 1 year in one shot is split into two tales. The first story is by writer Deniz Camp, and the art is by Jonas Scarf and Alessandro Capuzzo. The second part is written by Chris Kondo, and the art is by Mattia Iacono and Bryan Valenza. In this issue, Deniz Camp flips the narrative on the Ultimate Universe and puts us one step closer to the Maker's Council. Previously, everything had been from the POV of a hero or a hero to be. This issue is from the POV of the bad guys, technically. And why is that? Why are we moving to that specific point of view? Well, because the heroes of the Ultimate Universe aren't the only ones who have been preparing for the return of the Maker. This unique one-shot sets the tone for the second year of the universe timeline. The first story in this issue is Nick Fury as the head of the Hand. First thing you need to do is to forget any image you may have of Nick Fury as a spy or someone that works for the greater good in his own way. This version isn't like that. In Earth 6160, Nick Fury is not the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. Instead, Fury is the head of the Hand. The Hand stands for Heroic Anomaly Neutralization Directorate. The Hand was established and works directly for the Maker. Don't get it twisted. Not only it operates in fascistic ways, but also they actively seek out opposition to the Maker and eliminate it as soon as it arises. If you remember the plot from Captain America the Winter Soldier and what Hydra wanted to use their helicarriers for, it's the same idea. These helicarriers float around the world, listening in on people and monitoring all forms of communications. If they deem you to be opposing the Maker in any way, they take you out right where you stand. However, Nick Fury had a change of heart. After years of oppressing innocent people for what he believed was the greater good, suddenly, in the absence of the Maker, Nick Fury found himself working against the Council. While the Council members visited Fury for a briefing, he tried to blow up the Beast with everyone inside. The Beast is the nickname for the helicarrier. And that included himself. He was trying to take everyone out in some form of a redeeming act, if you will, because Nick Fury saw himself too far gone for redemption in any other kind of way, even unworthy of redemption, if you will. So, ever the good soldier, he decided to go out with a bang, but it didn't work. Nick Fury was not who he thought he was, not exactly. The Maker had meddled with Nick Fury's mind to mold him to be his perfect soldier so he could place him as the director of Hand. But he eventually rebelled against that programming, so the Maker decided to punish Fury by cloning him an unknown number of times in order to throw him into a never-ending cycle. You know, he'll be placed as the leader of the Hand. He will commit all these heinous acts in the name of the Maker. Eventually, he will wake up and realize that what he was doing was wrong. He will rebel against that, and then they will kill that clone and then activate the next one. The other major reveal from Nick Fury's story was the ability of the Hand to deploy agents to infiltrate all levels of society around the world. And if you've been keeping up with the Ultimate series, in the Ultimate Incursion specifically, this came back up. A spy from Hand had infiltrated Wakanda, close to the king, maybe 2 degrees of separation. That just goes to show you that these spies don't play around. They're really that good. Now, the second half of the story, not necessarily the half because it's 3 pages, more like the second story in this issue. It's the prologue for the Ultimate Wolverine series. After weeks of previews, ads, and even a promo video on YouTube, we finally get to see Ultimate Wolverine in the pages of Marvel Comics. 3 pages worth of storytelling, that is, like I said. Nonetheless, there was plenty to dissect there. Mostly, this was a tale narrated by a scientist who worked for the Rasputins. Her name is Dr. Alonya Prostovich, and she will be an essential player in the story moving forward. The Maker had established a location for mutants to be concentrated against their will, and that became the Eurasian Republic. And he ended up putting the Rasputins in charge of this region. Ultimately, the Rasputins found ways to exploit their wards for their own benefit. Experimentations and inhumane procedures were executed. As a result, Directorate X created the perfect weapon. They dubbed this the Winter Soldier. And that's all we get. Like I said, it's just a prologue, 3 pages worth, short preview of what was to come. So here's my thoughts about the art. In the first story with Nick Fury, Jonas Scarf and Mattia Iacono managed to draw some empathy from me for Nick Fury, despite the fact he was a horrible person. In contrast to the Maker's Council, Fury does come across as redeemable. The art takes Fury from poised and confident to confused, afraid, to hopeless. You really feel bad for Nick Fury in this issue. And thus, that made the reading experience an emotional roller coaster. Now, for the Winter Soldier part of the issue, all credit goes to Alessandro Cappuccio and Bryan Valenza for being able to compress their story to a 3-page montage. This take on Weapon X felt darker than the original, and that's saying something. The Winter Soldier looks like it's going to be everyone's problem. And if you've been caught up with it, it's about 6-7 issues in, and the Winter Soldier looked like he was going to be everyone's problem from the get-go. Now, for my final thoughts on this issue, this was the classic story of a hero who compromised themselves in the process. Along the way, Fury allowed himself to believe he was one of the good guys, even after his actions continue to say otherwise. In the end, he tried to do the right thing. Very compelling stuff from Deniz Camp. It is true, I am a fan of the Ultimate Universe. Despite my personal biases, I believe there are great stories being told from all corners of this new world. Marvel showcased what good editorial looks like by keeping the universe together, while at the same time allowing creators to do their individual stories. This is not the first time a publisher has concocted a new universe, and we do have examples from recent years when editorial cannot keep their new world together and it starts to stray, or it cannot be defined, or it just doesn't have cohesiveness to it. And I don't think that's the case here for the Ultimate Universe. Then a year or so later, they added a new wrinkle with this new 1 year in special. Deniz Camp filled in some of the gaps left by Hickman's Ultimate Invasion series, which encapsulates what makes it fun for me. The Ultimate Universe is free from the shackles of continuity, so questions can be answered and gaps can be filled with anything or anyone. You never know what's gonna happen. And with that being said, my name is Jancy, aka You're the Collector. I want to thank you for watching. You have a blessed day, and remember to read more comics.